My name is D.B. Cooper. I'm a voice actor. I'm also a director of stage and video games. I also do talent and casting, so I help people find the voices they need. One of the hallmarks of early game development was how bad the dialogue was. Okay, so like using the guy in accounting who always wanted to be a DJ was pretty much a surefire way to get your game on audioatrocities.com. Okay, but luckily the scope of games has certainly grown, and so has the investment in narrative. And so we've got better scripts and better directors, better actors, and really, overall, a better understanding of what has really become a craft. But now, all kinds of games are adding voice acting, and history is kind of threatening to repeat itself. Indie game developers especially are inundated with the demands of audio, of dialogue. And audio folks who may never have directed are finding themselves in charge of a whole huge cast of characters with voice talent who may never have played a game. So no matter what kind of game you're directing, I am hoping that some of the things you see today will help you get better results from your actors. Some of the stuff may seem obvious, but let's address it anyway. When you invest time before a recording session, it can solve problems before they even start. If it's at all possible, get your script into the hands of the actors before the recording date, even if it's not final. And the same thing goes for character briefs. Anything you can do to give your actor time to learn about his or her character is going to be great for you in the long run. It makes it feel a lot less like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. The characters that your actors play quite often are not the ones they auditioned for. It's a little bit daunting when you show up expecting to play a rowdy Southern girl because you're going to be shooting people and all, and they want you to be a femme fatale with a French accent. It's nice to know in advance, because it's a bit of a stick in the spokes if you're surprised. Some of us have a little bouquet of characters that we have in our pockets. We have a little bouquet of voices we can automatically do straight out of the gate. But others need exercise before they're trotted out. Okay, just who directs dialogue here? Okay, just, and say it out loud. Do you always do auditions? Yes. Excellent. Okay, so we don't need to talk about the efficacy of auditions. In case you're getting into directing, auditions are the first best way to separate the wheat from the chaff. You want to be able to tell if the people that you're asking to do your game with you can take direction, and that's what auditions are for. Something else that needs to be determined before the recording date is the studio hierarchy. You get one director. Have one person be the conduit through which information is passed on to the actor. Just one person guiding the actor. Direction by committee is like a recipe for the immolation of time and having your actor's head blow up. Have you seen the Santa sessions on YouTube, where there are like 5 guys in the control room telling Santa how to say ho, ho, ho? Yeah, you know, I didn't feel it that time. Okay, so having other people in the control room is fine, as long as it's fine with the director, okay, and the engineer, and as long as it doesn't interfere with that connection between the director and the actor. And once the actor gets in the booth and has his headphones on and the engineer has come in and set his microphone, just use the Talkback to talk for a couple of minutes. Just shoot the breeze. What'd you have for lunch? Do you have any kids? Did you see that program, you know, on Sunday night? Just anything, especially if it's the actor's first time doing a game. It's really kind of overwhelming. If an actor's never been in a booth before, you've got all of this fabulous technology all around you. And if you use it for something really comfortable and familiar, like a nice conversation, it makes it a lot less anxious and a lot less formal. And I've lost my, there we are. If you're part of the dev team, you know a lot more about the game than a script can ever tell anybody, okay? Especially if your script is a spreadsheet. And so any character brief, any script will never be able to reveal the amount of information that you have as a developer. So take a moment. Tell your actor what his place in the game is, what his character's place is, what the relationships are, what triggers fights, what triggers changes of scenes, just the whole business about some of the mechanics of the game, and anything thematic that matters. You want to add information if you can. Because as director, you're so much more than a traffic cop. You are in charge of the way the game speaks to the player, literally. Now, regarding the actual words you use to speak, what you think you are saying is not necessarily what the actor hears, okay? So it's a good idea to let the actor know at the beginning of a session that it's okay to ask you what you mean. I was once an assistant to a director whose two key terms, his two key instructions for the actors were, loosen it up. I just need you to loosen it up. You know what I'm talking about. So I need you to loosen it up. And his other direction was tighten it up. And sometimes, and I kid you not, he would use both for the same passage. Okay, I need you to loosen it up, but I just need you to tighten it up. And the poor actor was in the booth going, and I could tell he had no idea what the director meant. And neither did I, until I went to dinner with him later, and I said, you know, you use this term, loosen it up. What does that mean? And it turns out that loosen it up means don't make it sound so scripted. Get a little more relaxed with the way that you're delivering it so it doesn't sound like you're reading a line. Make it sound authentic. And tighten it up means that he just wanted it a little brisker with the delivery. Okay? I never would have known if I hadn't asked. I recently did a session with Tom Keegan where I was a tough girl with a Russian accent. And the Russian accent is one of the accents I like to be able to pull out of my pocket. And I practice it all the time. You know, I listen to the radio and I listen to BBC. So I can make sure that I can always keep track of the way that Russians sound because I want to make sure I'm spot on with my accent. So my hoodlum girl had these shouts like, get down from there, you coward! You know, big and round. And Tom kept saying, you know what, I just need a little sharper over here, and we need to put an edge on it, and I want a little more, less ah, and more and that kind of stuff. And he was being really precise, but I just didn't get it. So at the break, I told him how I keep my accent sharp. By listening to foreign radio and making sure that I've got an authentic Russian accent. I said, I want to be able to deliver you the authentic goods. And he goes, oh, no, we're not doing authentic. We're doing Hollywood Russian. Oh, it's more Boris Badenoff, right? So it's not, get back. It's more, get back. Okay, awesome. So the deal is, when you start your session, with the permission to ask you what you mean, you're establishing a respectful freedom to communicate without relinquishing your authority. And something else. When you're the actor in the booth, here you are in a box with a window. And sometimes at the end of a scene, or let's say we're done with a certain character, or even at a page change, the recording stops down, and the guys in the control room talk about sushi and other stuff, or something that happened hilarious that one of their children said this morning, and they all laugh. Now, the actors tend to be thinking, oh my God, they're laughing. Okay? So if you possibly can, keep the talkback engaged, so the actor doesn't feel completely out of the loop. Otherwise, it's like being on display in an aquarium. Okay, so here's the corollary to letting your actor ask you. Most of the time, actors want to give you what they think you want, but if you don't get what you want, be ready to explain your direction. Okay, so don't just jump into a line read. We were actually talking about this yesterday at Mike Surek's talk about how to get a point across to an actor. A line read is where a director will actually say the line to the actor as he hears it in his head. And it seems like a real expeditious thing to do, saves time, monstrously insulting to the actor, and is not very good for, the overall congeniality of the session. No one likes to be force-fed. So you're going to get a far better result for the entire session if you just take time to engage the actor's frame of reference as an actor. So something like, instead of just, I need you to say this line like, you're going down, mister. Okay, whatever. But say something like, as a teenager, how mad were you when your dad wouldn't let you use the car? It's not just angry, but thwarted. Okay, so that's going to mean something hot to your actor, and you're actually going to get a better performance overall. This is collaboration, because if you give him a line read, what you're actually asking him to do is parrot back your inflection in his voice. Now sometimes, and it's going to happen, you can get an actor who's truly stumped with something. Okay, and that's when a line read is appropriate. And frankly, if after like 3 tries at a line, if he's still not getting it, an actor is very likely to ask you for a line read himself. If he doesn't ask, you should ask, that is. You can offer to say, here's how I hear it. And here's something that David Chan mentioned yesterday in Mike Surek's talk. He never gives a line read with exactly the line. He paraphrases the line, so it isn't identical. So the actor isn't trying to simply mimic what he said. He's not trying to replicate the line in David's inflection. He'll give a paraphrase of the line so the actor can get the gist. And usually it's like, oh, click, I get it. When it's presented with a spirit of genuine collaboration, it's freeing and not limiting. Something else I've been asked about is interrupting. Sometimes you need to make a directorial adjustment while you're working on lines. Please wait till the end of the line. Please just wait to the end of the line. Honestly, unless the actor is narrating the origin history of epic saga. Can I say saga? I can say saga, right? There really aren't a lot of full-scale paragraphs in most of the scripts we do. A lot of the stuff we're dealing with is lines. And interrupting the actor, once again, it may seem like a time saver, but just be patient, just for a few seconds. Because what interrupting does is it immediately alarms the actor and will either undermine his confidence or irritate him. And that's going to make him less likely to be receptive. So either way, you lose a strong performance. Veteran voice actors usually, like I said, come with a little bouquet of characters that they're ready to give you. But sometimes, actually, when is smooth too smooth? Even seasoned pros can approach lines of script as elements that need to be rendered whole. Okay? But what happens is scripts end up sounding stilted if all the lines are read as lines. There's just something about the visual cue, okay, of a page full of these short sentences that makes them look like darts, and everybody's heading for the punctuation as a goal. No, please, enemy fire, getting flogged here, blah. This is racing when you're heading for the end of a sentence. Even the best actor can sound stilted or odd when speaking all the lines perfectly fluently clear all the way through. Pure fluency really doesn't exist all that often in the real world. You hear it in plays especially, where actors are stepping on their cues and everybody's got their lines memorized. And you hear it, think of the old movies from like the early 40s or the 30s where everybody's talking really rapidly and there's this super quick repartee. Well, sometimes you're going to have something like that with like, your face looks like it caught on fire and someone put it out with a brick. Okay, so sometimes you're going to get something blasting all the way through. But other times, you're going to have something, instead of just They have no authority over the Red Lanterns. If given the chance, I will destroy every last one of them. Okay? People speak in phrases. They have no authority over the Red Lanterns. If given the chance, I will destroy every last one of them. So conversation tends to be rendered in bits for the most part. If you don't want your game script to sound like a performance, the other thing you can do is allow for mistakes and corrections and pauses, as well as fluency. We want authenticity, we want reality, and we want honesty in our games. So at the beginning of the session, assure your actor that there is time to find authentic pauses. So the line, "Great, now we look incompetent," becomes, "Great, now we look incompetent." To self-interrupt. "Sorry, guys, I know you're coming off a case, but we're going to have to make a detour," becomes, "Sorry, guys, we've got to... Shoot, I know you guys are coming off a case, but we've got to make a detour." To say, like real people do. So instead of, "Jesus, he looked pretty mad," you get, "Jesus, he looked pretty mad." In fact, you might want to record that shoot the breeze conversation before the session. Record it and play a little bit back to your actor if he's got some authentic dialogue, because he'll be able to hear the way he truly speaks in real conversation. The series reads, as you begin your session, you can use some tricks to get a grip on the vocal quality of your character. These are like little theater games that allow the actor to stretch his imagination, okay, and offer up some really juicy choices. So you use short lines like, "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." The Goldilocks read, "It's too hot, too cold, just right." And it's whatever that means to the actor. You just let him go. So, too hot. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." Too cold. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." Just right. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." Okay, and so the like, don't like, close to series, you like the person you're speaking to, you don't like the person you're speaking to, or you're very close to the person you're speaking to. Okay, and that's in proximity. So we've got, I like you. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." I don't like the person I'm speaking to. I'm going to speak to an empty chair so nobody thinks I'm mad. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." And close to. "Hey, you there, I ain't seen you before." Okay, so you get all of these different choices. There are other things like the good day, bad day, normal day, angry, bored, excited. It's kind of the same thing. There's no correct rendering for these lines. Everything is completely subjective. Using these exercises as trials at the beginning, it gives your actors a chance to try something before committing to the right voice. And frankly, you may end up hearing something you never thought of and never knew you'd love. White lining is when you're driving right down the center of the road. Sometimes during a long session, your actor's imagination can become fatigued, and you can hear her white lining. That's driving right down the middle of the road. It's a middle of the road performance. It's really safe. It's not terribly interesting, okay? This happens when there are lots of those short lines, you know, like in battle chatter. So this is where you can take a moment to go off-road completely. Was that 5? Thank you. You can read a set of lines like a wildly declaiming Southern preacher, like a total doofus, or like a pony, okay? So it's like, you know, when you're constantly going over lines like force field active, force wall up, force field ready, repair station online, repair station ready. You can just kind of get into this groove that's a little bit, sounds a little boring. So if you just take a detour and you, deployable, everything's accessorized, upgrade, new hardware, pulse generator deployed, pulse generator out, generator's pulsing. What happens is you break the dam when you do something wrong. So do it wrong, keep the tape rolling, and then do it right without stopping. And then You can also just take a break. Everybody needs to get out of the control room for several minutes every hour, no matter what. So if you invest bits of time with your actors, you give them the freedom to enjoy the process, it becomes a fully shared experience, you have a richer recording experience, and everyone ends up with great audio. I am D.B. Cooper. Now, we've got about 4 minutes before they're going to throw us out of here. So if we have any questions, please step up to the mic. And if we run out of time, we'll roll next door. Michael.
Thank you. This
You're
is a
welcome.
very good session today. You're
Thank
looking
you.
lovely this morning as well. Can I have a copy of that photo, please?
Yes, you may. In fact, we'll roll back to it because it's so great. These are happy audio guys. Yeah. Anybody else? All right, if you need to come and see me later, you'll probably be able to find me. And have a great rest of the GDC. Thank you for coming.